Are the Can Ice synthetic skating tiles really worth the money? That's what we're going to talk about today in my 4-week follow-up on Can Ice synthetic skating tiles for goalies. Let me know right now in the comments below if you have synthetic ice at home, and if so, which type do you have? Do you have the Can Ice? Do you have the Revolution skating tiles, or something else? This is Maria from goalietrainingpro.com, and today I'm doing an in-depth review of the Can Ice skating tiles. I've had them for about a month or so. I've spent probably about 15 hours on them, and you might remember that previously I had the Revolution skating tiles. So I'm going to do a little compare and contrast and let you know the pros and cons of both. And I think today I will start with the bad. Not the bad, the less good. But if you're new around here, make sure you hit, well, you can hit like if you want, but that's a little like, that's kind of just going right, you know, trying to get a kiss on the first date or something. If you're new around here, you might want to subscribe. That's what I meant to say. Just subscribe. It's like going for a coffee. It's nothing like really permanent. Okay. Let's take a look at these tiles. Okay, we're going to start with the number one con of the Can Ice skating tiles, and that is that it's a relatively high barrier to entry, as we say in the business. It means they're more expensive. So for the new goalie training lab, I purchased 4 of these tiles. So you can see that here's a seam. So this is one tile. And then this is a second tile that I'm on. When we move and I get the new goalie training lab set up, I'm going to have double this space. So it's going to be 4 skating tiles. These tiles are, I think, 4 feet by 5 feet. And to get just 2 of them, so just this space, 40 square feet, is $599 US dollars. I think it's like 860 Canadian dollars, something like that. But wait, there's more. Because the shipping, my sense is that they're maybe a relatively new company, maybe a relatively small company that doesn't have a shipping agreement with one of the big distributors. So it's kind of shipped by local shippers. And so these come from, I think they came out of Oakville, like a 2-hour drive from where I live, and I could have gone and picked them up. So that was totally an option. But I think it was about $300 or $400 for them to be shipped just to where I am, because they come on a big pallet too. So it's, you know, it's not like they're small and compact. The Revolution tiles come in a box. I think I might have even got free shipping when I ordered them from hockeyshot.ca. So that's probably the biggest issue with them. They're also probably a little less, you know, this sort of goes hand in hand, a little less portable than the Revolution tiles. I can pull up my Revolution tiles and put them in a box that's this big, because the tiles are 1.5 feet by 1.5 feet. These are 4 by 5, so it's a little bit more tricky to, you know, drag them around, to move them to different places. So I think these are probably better if you're going to have a more stationary setup. Not to say that you can't move them, but it's just a little bit more work. If you missed my review of the Revolution skating tiles, I'll put a link in the description so you can check that out too and decide what's best for you. But really, that's really all the downside that I have. And it isn't even really a downside. It's just that for some of you, it's going to be out of your price range. So let's look at all the awesome things about these Can Ice skating tiles. The number one thing I really like about these is that there aren't little shavings everywhere. So the Revolution tiles, you know, it's like when you're on the ice, you know, if you do you know, a C-cut or a shuffle, like you're peeling up little bits of the sliding surface or little bits of the ice. And so then that's everywhere. It's very staticky. It'll stick to your clothes and your skin. And when it's hot and you're sweating and it's all over you. And you know, it's easy. You just get the vacuum cleaner. I have a little whisk broom and you just sweep it up when you're finished. But it adds an extra step. And then there was one little thing about it that I personally didn't like, and it could just totally be all in my head, but I felt like after I skated on the Revolution tiles, I felt like I could feel my upper respiratory. I felt like it was like a little bit burning in there. Not from the workout, but I wondered, because some of those little shavings are like as fine as dust. And I thought maybe I was breathing some of that in, and just, that gave me a little bit of the heebie-jeebies. Like, so I don't know, that could be totally, it could be all in my head, but that's one thing I thought. And that was a huge factor in determining whether or not I would change to these tiles, because these tiles don't really make any shavings. I'm trying to find a shaving. Oh, there's one. I don't know. Yeah, there's one. I don't know if you can see that. Probably you can't, but it's very, very small. So, and even if I push, like that doesn't make shavings. So the cleanup wasn't a big deal. We got a vacuum cleaner, like a cordless vacuum cleaner, and we could do it, but I like that I don't feel it in my lungs. These tiles are double-sided, so really, if a time comes when I've worn out this side, I can flip it over and start again with a fresh sliding surface. Whereas the Revolution tiles, it's one side, and when that gets chewed up enough, then you need to replace those tiles. These, you're going to get double the wear out of them. I also really like that there are fewer seams, and this is an issue for me. So you can see I just have one seam down the middle. And this is really an issue that's specific, I think, to my setup, because we live in a super old house right now, and our basement floor isn't level. It has a little dip in it. So even here you could see that some of this seam was raised, and that's because there is a bit of a bump here. When we move into the new place and we have those nice flat concrete floors, that's not going to be an issue. But so when I'm on this one, I only have one seam to worry about. So as long as I glide straight over that seam, I have all this space to stop or turn or do whatever I want to do. On the Revolution tiles, they're 1.5 feet by 1.5 feet. So there's lots of seams. So I really had to get good at, like, okay, I need to stop right in the middle of that tile, and I need to push right in the middle of that tile, because I would catch an edge, and then that gets pretty exciting. I also find these have less friction than the Revolution tiles. So to me, it feels more like ice. And I was talking to my friend Brian DeCord about synthetic ice. He's not a huge fan, but partly because there's more friction. So, when I'm pushing, there's more resistance there. There's maybe more load on my hips, and that over time could be an issue compared to, skating on ice. But I like that there's less friction here. It feels pretty similar to ice, although, it depends on the ice, of course. I also like that on the Revolution tiles, I felt like I really had to, like, set my blade and then push. I felt like it would wash out quite easily, whereas on these I feel more like I can just, put my blade in and push. And yes, there is a little bit of give, but it's quite similar to what I would feel on the ice as I go. So I really like that element of it before, because on the Revolution tiles, it felt like you almost had to, like, really deliberately set that blade and then push. These, I feel like I can move just more fluidly. In terms of maintenance, I just wipe it down after every time I use it, mostly because some of the blade marks will get a little bit of a discoloration from the steel of the blade maybe. So I just come in with my cleaning cloth or just a dust rag, and I just wipe those out. Really just so it keeps looking pretty and pristine. So I just go over it. It takes me literally about 2 minutes. I just, wherever I see a black mark, I give it a rub. And that's about it. I'm going to circle back to a little bit of a warning as well about synthetic ice. You have to be aware that Every time you go in the butterfly, every time you're in an RVH, when you stop from a T-push, you're adding some wear and tear to your hip. Just like every time a pitcher throws a pitch, they're adding some wear and tear to their shoulder. So just like we don't want pitchers to like go, because pitchers could practice anywhere. We don't want them to go out in the backyard and pitch for 4 hours a day because they're just going to be chewing up reps. Same thing goes here. So this isn't a license to spend 4 hours a day effectively on the ice, but it's a great tool for deliberate practice. So over the break, i.e. the lockdown, but it's been terrific because, you know, I've been able to work on recovery from my butterflies, T-pushes, spending that time on deliberate practice. When, you know, if I'm on the ice, well, I don't want to do like 3 really good reps and then just kind of hang out, or work on my hand-eye. Like when I'm on the ice, I want to be like skating and doing things and making the most out of the money that I've paid to get that ice. Whereas here, I can just come down, put on my gear, have a plan, and spend time working on that without sort of fatigue being an issue, or without just, maybe I'm just at practice or stick and puck and people are just firing pucks at me and I don't get a chance to work on what I want to work on. I'll give you a little bonus tip. I use a shelf grip material underneath this so that these tiles won't slide on the concrete floor. Let me see if I can show you what that looks like. It's the same stuff I use under my turf. So it just looks like this and it's kind of rubbery. And I think it is just called shelf grip. So the idea is that, in the shop or in the kitchen even, you would line your shelves with that and stuff isn't going to be sliding around. These tiles don't slide at all. I've never used them without it, but they don't slide at all. Keep in mind that this doesn't replace your regular off-ice training. So yes, technically we're off the ice, but this isn't really your off-ice training. This is still skating on ice type of training. So you still need to be doing your goalie specific mobility, strength, speed, stamina work off the ice so that you're filling that toolbox, so that you've got all the tools you need when you do get the opportunity to get on the ice and skate. You can move the way your goalie coach needs you to move. You have the strength and power to move quickly. You have the stamina to last for a whole lesson and really make the most of it, or a practice or a game. So keep that in mind. This doesn't replace your off-ice training. If you're just not sure what to even do for off-ice training, then go check out shutoutacademy.com. Those are comprehensive workouts, brand new ones every single month that cover every single detail that you need in that respect. If you found anything in this video helpful whatsoever, then make sure you hit the like button now. Some people say smash it, but I don't really want you to smash things because you might break something and then you have to pay to get it fixed. So you can just hit it. It works just as well. And if you'd like me to make another video showing you some of the specific techniques or how I set up my training sessions on the synthetic ice, what I work on and what I look for, just leave a comment below to say, yeah, I'd like to see that sort of skating session video or whatever you want to call it. I'll know what you mean. And if more than 20 of you want to see that, then I'll go ahead and make that video for you. No problem. But otherwise, you've hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't done so already. If you're already subscribed, did you know that if you hit the little bell, then you're going to find out before anybody else does that a new video is up? So like before your goalie partner who's secretly trying to steal your job and they say they're not training, but then they actually are secretly training in the basement and lulling you into a false sense of security. I know, crazy, eh? But it happens. So that's it for today. That's the review of these can ice skating tiles. I love them. I give them 2 thumbs up. I didn't get paid to make this video. I bought these with my own allowance. So there you go. That's my honest opinion. I will see you next time.